After around 2 years on YouTube, it's just now crossed my mind that maybe making sweet love to Adobe After Effects is not the most viable business strategy. I say this because recently I've made a series of questionable financial decisions, and I think it's time that I take a different approach to content creation. Let me know how it goes. Sort of the Stranger is a 2007 movie about child sacrifice, opiate addiction, and most importantly, brotherly love. In the 14th century, the Emperor of China learns of a way to synthesize an immortality drug. With this knowledge, the only thing stopping him from dismantling the ancient Chinese pharmaceutical industry is that the process of making the medicine is incredibly stupid. This includes building a massive altar on a specific plot of Japanese land, and then, during a small time window that happens once every century, separating an orphan from its blood. The non-consenting donor is this little guy, Kotaro, a boy whose life can be summed up as unfortunate. After having both of his parents die on him by the age of 6, Kotaro lives his life as a burden to society, stealing food from others and sleeping in abandoned buildings. A routine not so different from anyone with a psych degree. He's at rock bottom even before the discovery that he's being hunted down by the CCP. Speaking of, something that I should probably mention is that the Emperor's plan to abduct Kotaro involves hiring a group of trained assassins. Well, sort of. See, they're not really the sneaky stab you in your sleep kind. They're how do I put this? They're functional junkies, constantly popping painkillers and maintaining a perpetual high to suppress some of the more restricting human characteristics like morality and emotion, which coincidentally makes them have a lot in common with the drive-by shooting build. This detachment comes at a cost, however. What goes up must come down, and when they come down, the withdrawals are horrific, transforming them from apathetic machines of war to the man stroking out in front of your local gas station, reinforcing the idea that once you start, don't stop. Rehabilitation is an admission of wrongdoing. Addiction isn't real. Either way, it's pretty clear that the malnourished 8-year-old isn't gonna be able to outrun the group of chemically enhanced super soldiers, so it's looking like there's a family reunion in Kotaro's future. That is, until he crosses paths with a homeless man carrying a sword. From this point, I guarantee that you can pretty accurately predict the rest of the movie. On the surface, Sort of the Stranger is a simple story, full of common tropes, that plays everything extremely safe. You've seen the dynamic of the main duo hundreds of times over. One of them is an emotionally reserved badass with a dark past, while the other is a helpless creature on the verge of accidentally killing itself. We're not breaking new ground here. However, this doesn't mean that the movie isn't worth watching. In fact, I see Sort of the Stranger as a rare lesson in self-awareness, the exact opposite of what's about to happen. This video was made in partnership with NordVPN. Since moving into my college dorm, I've kind of been forced to learn about internet security, from connecting my laptop to public Wi-Fi networks, to getting malicious AI-generated emails sent to my school inbox, to sharing files with questionable classmates. My personal information's been fighting for its life all semester. Just this week, someone's been signing into my Spotify and listening to nothing but country music. So I know firsthand the horrors of being digitally compromised. My recommended songs are never gonna be good again. This is where Nord comes in. Their goal is to make your time on the internet as painless as possible by providing you with tools like a kill switch to make sure your VPN's always on before accessing the internet, dedicated IP to stop websites from noticing that you're using a VPN and then spamming you with human verification checks, and a no logs policy so you know that your data isn't being retained by your VPN provider. This is in addition to the usual VPN functions like anonymizing your internet traffic and changing your location to almost anywhere in the world. So if any of this interests you, Nord's given me an exclusive code which you can use to get 4 months for free when signing up for a 2-year plan. This includes a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can decide if the service is right for you. You can get this deal by using my unique code at nordvpn.com/nobones. Alright, back on topic. Sort of the Stranger might have a simple premise, but what it lacks in complexity, it more than makes up for with execution. And by that, I mean that it's overproduced as shit. Everything has movement. The backgrounds look alive, even with their realistic toned down colors. The music sounds like a Disney employee opened the wrong email attachment, and the action scenes are so unbelievably good that they're probably the only reason the movie's still remembered. None of this was was the bare minimum, which is unfortunately also where Sword of the Stranger seemingly shot itself in the foot. See, there are rumors that this was supposed to be a series with multiple movies. This was made in 2009. There are not multiple movies. I say rumors because the only sources I could find were Reddit posts. Granted, I didn't look that hard, but luckily we're not strangers to factual errors here. Misinformation is the most fun part about being a YouTuber. If you think about it though, the Redditors might be onto something, considering that the average anime consumer is either prepubescent or attracted to them. You kinda have to wonder how a simple story with washed out colors and no female character to stare at was ever considered profitable. What I'm getting at is that I genuinely don't understand how this movie was made, but I'm glad it was, because it makes heavy use of something that you don't really see in anime too often: subtlety. Due to its predictability, the movie has to hit the ground running and keep the pace, or else it risks becoming mind-numbingly boring. And what this translates into is tiny details appearing and disappearing in the blink of an eye. Money might have been wasted, but your time isn't. For example, in one of the scenes, the characters are fighting out in the cold, and if you pay attention, you'll notice that one of them is desperately trying to make sure his sword doesn't break. Now, the way this is shown is that mid-fight, he casually walks next to a fire, or exhales onto the blade. He doesn't go into a 10-minute monologue about how steel gets brittle in the cold. There's no time for that. There's a very real chance that somebody completely misses this while watching. When things happen, they aren't always the center of attention, which gives off the impression that the movie doesn't think you're stupid. As a side effect, this also makes it incredibly rewatchable. This time around, I noticed something about our parentally challenged friend. Kotaro's character is actually pretty subversive due to his situation. You would expect the kid to be someone you empathize with, maybe even pity, an easy emotional hook that latches onto you. Here, this is not the case. He is easily the most dislikable character in the entire movie. See, as an orphan, he's fully aware that the only people who are gonna be nice to him are traffickers, so he's apprehensive when it comes to trusting the mysterious swordsman, which is completely understandable. However, since you already know that inevitably they're gonna get close, it feels like for half the runtime he's actively fighting the plot, which makes him come off as annoying. Luckily, you don't really have to pay attention to him, as there are multiple ways to engage with the movie. You can either try to piece together a deeper meaning symbolically by playing around with what limited information you are given, or you can do what I did and just think of the plot as nothing but a string that connects you from fight scene to fight scene, and zone out while the director that worked on this, and this visually stimulates you. And either way, it's still a pretty enjoyable experience, unless you speak Mandarin. Oh yeah, before I disappear again for somewhere between 3 weeks to 6 months, I have a Patreon now. 2024 marks the beginning of the e-begging arc. Your money will not be going to a good cause. Alright, take care.